Let's talk about a weird one. How ancient wisdom helps me heal from CIRS and erythromelalgia. I'm Dr. Lauren Sparks. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner. I'm also a therapist. I've walked through the fire of erythromelalgia as well as chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and I'm here to tell you I have hope for your healing, lots of it. Let's talk about the enneagram. The what? The enneagram is a tool. It is ancient wisdom. It dates back centuries. It's been linked to Christianity, but also to Judaism, to Sufism. And it's something, honestly, I was a little averse to. I grew up hearing about it, and it didn't invite me into experiencing more grace for myself. I did have a dear friend who was expert in the Enneagram, who in my 30s invited me into seeing it in a different way. And it did allow me to understand myself better. I was always worried it would sort of pigeonhole me into a box. And what I realize now is that's not the case at all. There's so many different avenues to understanding yourself with the Enneagram. And it's certainly not trying to paint you into a small box. It is not a personality test. It's often thought to be that, but it's not. Instead, it's a way to understand how we see the world, the eyes with which we look out into the world. And it helps us understand our inherent sort of gifts as well as our challenges or our growing edges. It can tell us where we're prone to go or how we're prone to respond when under stress, and also when we are experiencing more health. I'm challenged, given the fact that I've had chronic illness, to use the word health. And so sometimes I tend to say where we go when we're imbalanced versus when we are in balance. Regardless, chronic illness is stressful. And so we would be likely to experience the extremes of our personality when challenged with chronic illness. So one of the books that I find really easy to understand, enjoyable to read, is The Road Back to You, an Enneagram Journey of Self-Discovery, and it's by Ian Crone and Suzanne Stabile. There's many different Enneagram resources, and all depending on where you are, some of them can feel quite overwhelming and very heady, and others are more enjoyable. And I found this book in particular to be quite enjoyable to read, easy to understand. If you read this book, you'll be able to likely identify what number you are or begin to narrow down what number you are. It should go without saying that other people should not type you. People may tell you, I think you're a 2, an 8, a 4. Thank you very much. And this is my journey, and I am going to navigate that process. It should also be said that you can't take a 2-minute survey on what food you like and what movie you don't like and learn what Enneagram number you is. This is a process of discernment. And so part of the beauty of the Enneagram is the journey of discerning what number you truly are. The Enneagram Institute does have what is considered the best survey out there, and it is a test that will take you at least 30 minutes to complete. And it is asking numerous questions about your propensities and preferences, and I do find it to be quite accurate. That said, I think it is just as reasonable to get a book like The Road Back to You. I will say, if you go to look for this book, there's a workbook. Avoid the workbook. You want the actual book itself. And I made the initial mistake of purchasing the workbook and didn't find it that helpful. And then I realized that I had not purchased the actual book itself, which is enjoyable and quite helpful. All right, let's jump into breaking your number down. So once you are fairly certain what number you may be, you will have some insight into, again, your gifts and your growing edges. So I am a 2. That means I am naturally loving. I often look on the bright side. I'm giving. I'm encouraging. My vice is pride, which means, and it's embarrassing to say, but I can give to get. I can feel in order to be loved, I have to be giving. This is very oversimplified. As you understand your number, you will understand that there's many layers to this. But I am just trying to take you on a quick sort of tour of how understanding that I am a 2 helped me heal as I progressed in my CIRS and EM healing journey. So, where I go in stress or in imbalance tends to be into the number 8. I become more controlling. So ways that this occurred in my disease process was that my diet had to be perfect. There could never be any variation. I had to research and know all of the possibilities. I couldn't relax into the process. Self-care became very rigid and I was not flexible about my self-care. So that added new layers of stress in the disease process. So the place that I, as a 2, go in stress or imbalance is towards this control. The place that I go in health is more into creativity. I move more towards a 4. I become more self-focused. A 2 can be other focused, even in the midst of our disease process and really needing to focus on our own healing process. We can give and give and give to others because we are so afraid if we stop giving that we won't be loved. And so I needed to move towards that 4, which was stepping back into my creativity as a person who really enjoys creating art. And also becoming more self-focused and realizing that sometimes I needed to back away from focusing on others and caring for others and really focusing on, as one of our enneagram group members says, cocooning and really taking care of myself. That my creativity began to emerge as what I called angry art, where I was just using Sharpies and highlighters and printer paper and I was getting everything out. My questions for God, my anger at God, my anger at my disease process, my why me, why now? I was getting all of this out and the art wasn't pretty in any sense, but it was better out than in. And it was no longer inside my body and it was a safe place for me to begin to ask these questions. I found that as I moved towards my 4, my creativity, my healthy focus on self, I began to notice more shifts in my healing process from chronic inflammatory response syndrome as well as erythromelalgia. And of course, this is an incredibly simplified version of what my healing process was. I do think it is important to say that when we are in survival mode, it's probably too much to invite somebody into thinking about this. So when I was thinking about this, I was in a safe enough environment. I was binding, mark-ons were being treated. I had received VIP and my world was beginning to open up where I could potentially engage in more self-reflection and invite more tools like this into the repertoire so that I could, step back into a joyful, meaningful, vital existence. If you are engaging in something like the enneagram and you're feeling a sense of failure, you're feeling like, I just can't find myself caring about this. This feels like a burden. It's likely not the right time. It doesn't mean that something like this will not be helpful for you, but it does mean, I believe, that right now you're likely still in survival. And that is, we think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and that safety and that safe living environment, food, shelter, water. Those are always going to predominate above, this introspection about where do I need to move so that I can be more in balance and in rhythm. I'll continue to talk more about things that I engaged in that I feel like really contributed to my healing process in upcoming videos. If you're benefiting from this channel, please like and subscribe. Have you benefited from the Enneagram? If so, please tell us about that below. If you're wondering about other therapeutic opportunities that we offer, you can go to untamediona.com and explore those offerings. And in our next video, you can learn from therapist and CIRS survivor Brenda Stewart about how EMDR can help you heal from trauma and loss. Until next time, take good care and hold on to hope.